This is the most puzzling thing with the blue, is if you're going to have this as some kind of tangential part of your identity, why are you making all of these other jerseys and not making a blue jersey? It's you've made it part of your visual identity. You've got to use it.
Green and blue, I got to really lock this down. So I want to do this whole thing, okay? I want to do this whole thing about basically the Avengers and how, and I can't think of his name, and he's probably a pedophile anyway, Bryan Singer, right?
Yeah.
But like kind of the whole idea of and I talked to Mr. Lucas about this a little bit too. The idea of black for black's sake, and how the X-Men came out in the 2000s, the original Bryan Singer X-Men, and they didn't trust to actually make the characters look comics realistic, because there had never been really that many comic book movies before. They hadn't been successful before. And so they made the X-Men, they basically put them in black leather. You know, do with that what you will, but they put them in black leather. And nobody, I don't remember at the time, especially I wasn't on a message board or anything. I don't remember anybody complaining, because that was just kind of what you did in movies. You know, that's what you did in The Matrix. That's what you did in that time period. And this was late 90s. This was 1999, 2000, 2001. That's just what characters in movies look like. And so tying that back to we're tying that back to a lot of ideas, but tying that back to the red and green of the Bucks, nobody thinks they want a team to be red, white, and green. Like, I wouldn't have picked that to be the colors of my favorite team either. Like, it's not the first color you would think of. But much like when we got a series of Avengers movies late, where I think no matter what you think about the quality of them, people were thrilled to see big, bright red and blue Spider-Man. It's like, oh, Spider-Man looking exactly like I expect him to look. And it's red and blue. They look like comic books. And the more outlandish characters, Vision and Thor and the Hulk and all these characters, wow, they were, you know, these are garish colors, but wow, they're pulling it off. And they even pulled off Captain America, which is a ridiculous character visually. And they pulled it off. And so there's a couple of lessons from that. That black for black's sake is a circular fad that I think comes and goes, and that's fine. It'll never die. But it comes and goes. But what people actually want, even if they don't know that they want, is to see legacy colors in a way that's representative. It ties again to that nostalgia, that thing that you kind of remember that you loved, but that you forgot that you loved. With the green and the blue, there is not a single superhero in Marvel or DC that is green and blue, because green and blue as a color combination sucks. That's the reason nobody uses it. The closest I could come to was Martian Manhunter. It has green skin, but like when you look at it, because there's all these articles and articles about like comic book theory and comic book color theory I've kind of been going over. There was also a really interesting one about the flags of the world. And, of course, obviously, it's not like any shock to you guys that there's no flag on the planet that is black and white and cream and green and blue, because that would be silly. And so I'm not sure if I'm going to really be able to bring all these points out in a coherent manner, but that's kind of what I'm shooting for. And, Jordan, did I vamp enough for you there?
Well, I was just thinking about the blue. And, like, I don't know. Like, Tulane, this is a very random poll. But, like, Tulane, I know not a hotbed for design.
The wave.
Yeah, the wave. But, like, they have a blue jersey. It's more powder blue. It's not necessarily, like, the blue, whatever, Great Lakes blue or whatever thing that
I've got a jersey with Great Lakes blue that also has green on it that I think looks good. An NBA jersey. The Garnett. Well, the Mavs' one is actually one I didn't think of. Garnett era Wolves.
Like early?
They had must have been an alternate that actually is kind of pretty, it's kind of aged into retro cool, much like the Deerhead Bucks or the Purple Raptors have. And it works in a way. Now, part of why it works is probably because the shorts are awesome and you've got a retro logo, and again, there might be some lessons in there. But yeah, it's not a natural color combo you'd think of, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. I mean, I just either get rid of the blue or use the blue is kind of my take on the blue.
Is that the one with the trees, the tree line on it? Kind of the Timberwolves, where it's like the trim is kind of like evergreen trees.
No, you're thinking the one after it. This is like the original.
The original, which was actually a pretty good word, Mark. It's kind of the sharp wolves.
Yeah, and they the wolf kind of actually looks like a husky, kind of like
right. Exactly. I like that one. I like that one. Point taken on that one. I will only counter with saying that the Dallas Mavericks can't get it together I would argue, for similar reasons.
Oh, that new one looks awful.
I mean, their thing is really, let's just try and be the Cowboys most of the time.
Right.
Like, and that's maybe not the worst idea. They're never going to be as iconic a brand. Oh, their logo is not good. I think that's also a big problem with that. I just think their logo is really boring. But they won a championship with that white and blue, so they should stick with it. That's my philosophy, and I'm sticking to it. That's their greatest moments forever will be replayed with that jersey. So maybe try and make some new ones with something that resembles it.
So one last point I kind of wanted to make, and this I will definitely make the point because, in 1993, the timeline skewed for the entirety of Wisconsin sports. The Packers, Ron Wolf wanted to change the Packers to looking essentially like the Notre Dame green or Central Florida or whatever. He wanted to change them to a metallic gold, so it'd be kind of like Notre Dame but with green and gold. In 1993, going into 94, the Bucks changed to purple, and the Brewers lost the ball and glove, and the Brewers went on this 20-year odyssey of, again, trying blue and green, trying the bats cross, trying a solo M, the M and B crossed, and they just kind of, because again, once you change, then you open yourself up to changing every 4 years. The point, and we're, at least me and Jordan are Wisconsin or native Wisconsinites, so I'm not sure if this point actually would land as hard for anybody in the middle of the country. But just from my perception, what the Packers did, which speaks to all of the other things that we've already talked about as far as maintaining that brand and tying it from Nitschke and Starr to Favre to Rodgers and all that. It's kind of the same things. I'm trying to avoid saying the exact same thing in these videos over and over while still trying to make points without it being too grating or annoying. But I would argue that when the Broncos vanquished the Packers in Super Bowl 32, because they had changed their jersey, we don't think about the Denver Broncos the same way that we did when they were the lovable losers in The Simpsons.
Don't worry, Mrs. Simpson. We've helped hundreds of people in danger. We'll give you a new name, a new job, new identities.
Ooh, I want to be John Elway.
Elway takes the snap and runs it in for a touchdown. Thanks to Elway's patented last-second magic, the final score of Super Bowl 30. Denver 7, San Francisco 56.
Woohoo!
I don't think this is such a good idea.
Telegram!
Project Arcturus couldn't have succeeded without you. This will get you a little closer to that dream of yours. It's not the Dallas Cowboys, but it's a start. Drop me a line if you're on the East Coast. Hank Scorpio. Oh, the Denver Broncos!
I think owning the Denver Broncos is pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, explain to me why it isn't.
You just don't understand football, Marge.
Wearing all orange. And actually, if you think about it, yes, the Packers have two of the greatest 10 quarterbacks of all time, or three of the greatest 20, or however you want to look at it. Really, the Denver Broncos have probably been a better team since the mid-90s than the Packers have. But I would argue it. I mean, I think they've won more Super Bowls. They've probably been in more AFC Championship games. Maybe the Packers have a better record. I'd have to look it up. But they're a shockingly comparable team in stature to the Packers. And I would argue the only reason it doesn't feel that way is because they didn't win the title in those big orange jerseys that Elway failed in for so many years. And once he succeeded, he was wearing these weird, the Nike swoosh thing, which everyone has gotten used to by now. And to their credit, I guess they stayed with it. But nostalgia is a tenuous thing. And once you go away from it, you're actually minimizing your standing, I would argue. Where they feel much lesser than the Steelers or the Cowboys. Cowboys don't even win, but the Cowboys are the Cowboys.
I will just add that I own 3 of the Peyton Manning era Denver Broncos jerseys. I own every color version from that year, the 2 years where I was briefly into the NFL, and I was a Broncos fan. So I don't have a whole lot else to add because I forgot everything I learned with the NFL in that time.
Wow.
But do the Steelers even really win anymore?
No, but they just feel like the Steelers.
I know, but that's the thing.
Well, it's interesting that you brought up the Raiders. I mean, the last 20 years, they went to 1 Super Bowl, but they've been horribly mediocre.
They've become a fashion brand rather than a football team, and that was fine, you know? I mean, that worked because your brand is strong enough, and in the context of what we're talking about, if you can be a fashion brand when you're really bad, that's probably a good thing, because when you're really good, you'll really reap the rewards then.
I don't think enough people maybe do grasp how much the kind of native Mexican and Mexican Americans here, like here, there's a lot of people who love the Cardinals, but the Cowboys and the Raiders in Arizona, the Cowboys and the Raiders are like just gangbusters. And the white people love them, the Mexican people, you know, the black people, like that. They just it's a regional crossover thing. It's like the Lakers here, and and the Raiders haven't been good for forever.
Same with the Knicks too, I guess. I mean, they have a very distinct brand and obviously big market, all that stuff, but like they're terrible.
But see, this is the thing.
That's interesting, because even all those times when I was thinking of jerseys, I like the Knicks jerseys, and the Knicks fit the same template of the teams I named, being the Lakers, Celtics, and Bulls, and yet I never once thought of the Knicks. So I wonder, does it get to a point where if you're just so bad...
They also put in that black, like, weird... like how
panel.
the Lakers have that new side panel.
Exactly.
Yeah. And they phased that out around Carmelo Amari era? I feel like that's not that long ago. But yeah, like, you don't really think of them, but like they're there. But it's weird how much, like, I guess that if you're successful or not kind of just really influences how much those jerseys and color palettes like work.
But see, this is the thing I don't get. Our owners are Knicks fans, right? And that's what so there's 3 conspiracy theories. I don't even think they're conspiracy theories. I just think they're accurate to whatever level. And when they had the swatch of blue, the joke initially to make is, well, that's because Jason Kidd was a Maverick, which doesn't really make any sense, but it was, kind of fun to say. Like, they got this swatch of blue because of Jason Kidd, right?
That is insane. Come on. I was expecting some conspiracy theories to come out. That one, there's a lot of Jason Kidd conspiracy theories you can go out. That one I'm not taking it. So
but if Jason Kidd was going to, like, at the time, he's the toast of the town, is Jason Kidd going to be a part owner? Is Jason Kidd going to be team president?
To help have the team stay in Wisconsin. That was how big he was, and they're shouting him out during all these meetings. It was so weird.
Oh,
it's because he was famous. No one else. Giannis wasn't Giannis yet.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely true. So, but again, like, it's like, okay, so then is the blue block because they're Knicks fans, and it's like a visual Easter egg to them being Knicks fans, like. Or the third thing, which I absolutely believe and have always believed, is that some smart person got in a room and said, what is your identity? You don't have any identity, so we're going to have this mismatch of colors, and the Packers are popular. And so this cream really isn't cream because in a distressed T-shirt or in other versions, it's basically yellow. And, the Packers might sell a distressed T-shirt that's also not that yellow. So really you can sell Bucks colors that are basically green and gold, the green and yellow that we're used to. But we're also going to be blue, which means we can also do blue Brewers colors. And basically we can just sell any color we want because we can sell blue stuff, we can sell green stuff, we can sell green and yellow stuff, and we can just do whatever we want. And of course black.
Except they don't sell blue stuff.
I have a blue sweatshirt.
Oh, the worst. The worst.
I know the blue sweatshirt you're talking about.
It's good.
Is that...
Jason Kidd wore it all the time, and I felt bad after seeing that.
Yeah, that might be the only piece of blue Bucks clothing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Well,
and it's not even the blue that they have on there.
It's a lighter, it's a softer blue.
Yeah.
if you go back and read the UniWatch kind of articles of the time, there was this idea that they didn't get the darker green that they wanted to because it was a template thing. Or maybe that was, I know they said they wanted a darker green and they wanted a different blue or something. So again, it was thrown together. And I don't even think I'll have time to go through the whole episode of them coming out with that hoof M.
Oh my God.
They really got better as an ownership group other than, Brogdon, Middleton. They really got better as an ownership group because they were doing stuff like that every couple of months for a while.
Yeah.
I felt like.
It was eventful, we'll say, to begin with.
Yeah.
It was eventful. There was a lot of times where it'd be like, they should have gone with the orange. I was on board with the orange. The orange had green too, like that. If we're talking about traditional colors, it was a more garish orange, but it was, we could have made a case that okay, this is Bango orange, and we've got green and white. maybe only I would be making that case that it was, the colours of the Irish tricolour. So I was instantly on board with the Bucks just being a green, white, and orange team.
Yep.
But yeah,
would have matched the Harley. I think I wrote a series of tweets at that time saying my new conspiracy theory is that Gatorade is a team sponsor and they were going to go with Gatorade colors. But
how did you miss Harley in that?
I don't know. I'm not a writer. So I've taken up an hour of your time. Thank you very much. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think the only thing I'd add is we can talk about all of this stuff for years because I think it will be many, many, many years before we see any change to the Bucks' primary and secondary uniforms, their traditional home and road uniforms. And that ties into so much of why they shouldn't change in the first place, because the team is good right now and jerseys are selling. And if that continues to be the case, and of course that is particularly dependent on Giannis re-signing, I can't really see any changes to what the Bucks look like for quite a long time. And in some ways that's a good thing, but I also think it'll be more of a bad thing because that just leaves the alternate jerseys for experimentation, and there'll be some really just boring, more than ugly, it's just boring. It's just these bland alternate jerseys where you're like, why do you waste all of our time with this? Why do we have to watch so many games? It's just wear the green and whites. Both of those uniforms are pretty good. They're not perfect. There might be things I like with them, but I think they are good jerseys. They are nice jerseys that can also carry something of, oh yeah, that's a Bucks jersey. But I think those two we will have for a long, long time. Mm-hmm. That would be my closing thought.
I do not have a closing thought.
Surprise, surprise. Did you have an opening thought?
I don't think so either. I think I started this the way I ended it.
Very nice, very nice. Well, again, thank you very much for your time. You've given me a wealth to work with. We'll have to figure out how to rework this. I did get Kane is going to send me something too.
Awesome.
Although I think he's the face guy. I think he's sending me a video. Apparently, and like I said,
wow.
Right.
Talk about ego. Wait till I get on to Kane.
Right. So we'll see, man. Like I said, I'm sitting on the one from Kyle from like 3 months ago because he got right back to me because he loves the cream. So of course, I wanted to give equal time to the cream. But we'll just see how it goes, man. This kind of feels like this should be its own thing.
But I have no idea even what's usable of this, but if nothing else, it gives you a chance to kind of talk through it and maybe get some things that you want to talk about when you kind of put the video together, or at least have some snippets. All of those Jordan hot takes on uniforms have got to make it in there.
Right. which is I like it. I like this. Yeah, that's all I got. Thanks, guys.